Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SoCal Summer Swing Out podcast. It is I, your host, Andre, and I am joined by the lovely, the phenomenal, the absolutely hilarious Stephanie Quon. Hi, friend.
Hi, my dear friend. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you. It's so good to see you. I'm so happy to be here.
I know, it's so good to see you too. I feel like we don't see each other as much as we would like to, you know?
I know it's hard. It's hard. We see each other at dance events, and then in the in between, we're just looking forward to when we get to see each other next. Soon, though.
Yeah.
Soon.
And sometimes you and I compete together, which is really fun.
Ah, we do. I love it. I love competing with you. Dancing with you is a
Same.
wonderful experience.
Geez, same to me. Same for me, bro. You're phenomenal. Okay, now before we get into this whole compliment loop, because we'll go on forever, um,
Forever.
I wanted to say for the people who don't know, Steph, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you dance and whatnot.
Yeah. So, hello, hello. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Stephanie Quon. I'm originally from Southern California, Orange County, but my main dancings, SoCal, what up? But my main dancings are Denver now, but I'll say Boulder and Denver. So I started dancing in 2015. Actually, my dance
Hmm.
story starts out. I was in marching band in college, and there was a boy that asked if I'd be interested in going to a swing dance lesson. We
Yeah.
went to the first lesson for 1 week, second lesson for another week, and then we never went again. And after that relationship, I thought, oh, I really enjoyed that. And so a dear friend of mine, who you know, Allison Fry, asked
Hmm.
me if I would go with her to Lindy on the Rocks because I had never like really heard of this event. I didn't know what it was about. And they were like, come with me, it'll be great. And it was marvelous. It was just like this electric energy and like music, and everybody was just so full of joy. And I got hooked. And so then in 2015, that's really when it started. Started at University at CU Boulder, and then now I'm here. So I teach and I've done some DJing, and I've been really active in the Boulder, Denver scenes. And from my day job, I'm an academic advisor. So that's where I am. That's me.
Yeah. Now I have heard this before. I haven't heard we've talked about this before, how you started, and I always think it's so cool how you and Allison not only started like you started dancing. Did you start learning from Allison?
No, so I ended up learning, thankfully to the individuals, the seniors, whoever was a part of that swing dance club, they just held free lessons. And so if you can imagine out in on campus, there are these really big, like large areas where there were 100 people in this huge circle, and these two instructors just yelling their hearts out, and they got enough interest from people just walking by, and they'd be like, walk on down, come. And so I got swept up in that, and the people who taught my first lessons were really engaging and really fun, and they made me laugh and created a really good community. And then because of my friendship with Allison at the time, Allison knew me as a student. I talked about how I was interested in dancing, and so Allison had an extra ticket for Lindy on the Rocks, and it was the end of July. So as a birthday present, Allison said, "Come with me," and so that's kind of what kicked it off. Because it's one thing to go to lessons at a university, but it's different to be at an event with the community and to really get what I consider to be like a true sense of how electric and how, dare I say, almost addicting that joy is.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I can imagine because when so I'd like to talk about how you and I met because it's in that context, right?
I love this story so much. Yes.
Because it was kind of magical, and we'll talk about how that relates to Lindy on the Rocks. Because um, I remember on my side that it was at Uptown Swing Out last year, and I had seen you on Friday night. And first of all, if anyone has never seen Steph dance, she is an amazing dancer, and she is just a joy to watch, right? So I noticed her Friday night, and sometimes when you survey the floor, you just notice someone, you're like, oh wow, she looks like a great person to dance with. But I wasn't able to catch you that night. But Saturday, it was like the song before the last song or something like that, right? And
I think so.
yeah, and you had asked me to dance, right? And I remember we were at the very front, and you asked me, and so I was like, oh wait, it's that person because I didn't recognize because you had a mask on and stuff,
Oh yeah,
right?
of course, because at that particular event, everybody had masks on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I was like, oh yeah, you're that person. And I remember you're like, would you like to dance? And I was like, yeah, I would. And I swear to you, the minute we connected, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be a good dance, you know? And yeah, it was a bomb ass dance, you know?
Oh my gosh. And then take that experience, connect it to Camp Hollywood, because that was
Mm-hmm.
the next time that we saw each other. So I agree. Uptown Swing Out, absolutely incredible event, absolutely wonderful weekend, very inspiring, very magical. I
Mm.
remember seeing you and seeing your energy and thinking, oh yeah, I want to dance with you. You look like a lot of fun. Like we're gonna have fun. And I remember that when I because I just decided I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna ask. Like, what's the harm in asking? And so I went up and I
Yeah.
said, would you like to dance? And you said yes. And we connected. And I do I do remember you looked at me in this way that you went, oh yeah. And I went, oh yeah. And we ended up just
Yes.
having a, it was this unspoken knowing, this connection where we I don't know, it's just locked in where we went, oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time. I think about that feeling. And at the end of the weekend, I remember coming up to you, our very, very first picture that we ever took. Because I said, can I take a
Yeah.
picture? Because meeting you was such a meaningful experience to me. And you said, yeah, absolutely. And so I remember this. There was a pizza party, and I remember you were eating pizza, and you tried not to get pizza grease on me as I just snuggled you up in a big hug. And I have that picture, and I don't remember if I sent it to you, but I remember that take that event. I was on cloud nine, just
Mm.
riding that beautiful high. And if we fast forward to Camp Hollywood, I remember I saw you dancing up at the front near the stage, and I said, do you want to dance? And I remember that you stopped and you looked at me and you went, yeah, let's do it. It was just this nonverbal of like, let's go. And we connected. And I remember we finished the dance. And I remember this feeling of just like the endorphins and the adrenaline, the good feeling. And you looked at me with the most complimentary stank face I had ever seen. You looked at me, you were like, yeah, yeah. And you were like, you want to dance again? And I went, yes. You're like, all right, I'm just going to lead simple moves and you're just going to show me your voice. And I had never had that experience of someone saying, I want to hear you. I want to hear every story you want to tell me. I want to hear every kind of personality you want to give me. And you just led me through really simple moves. You gave me a structure, but I got to just sing loud, and I just got to just like shout from the rooftops, and that was really really fun. And I remember you were watching me as I try things, and you yeah, yeah, oh come on now, yeah. And so we were just having a really great time, and it felt like we were the only two people on that dance floor
Hmm.
for that experience because we were just playing off of each other. It was like two kids in the sandbox just having the time of their lives. So
I I fully agree. And I remember that dance, and like your voice is so powerful that like you have such a powerful voice. And when I think of your voice in dancing, I think I think you're saying, I'm here, I'm having a damn good time, and we're just gonna rock it out. Like that's when I hear your voice. And I feel like that's how you approach dancing in general, right?
yes, I think about when I really think about my place on the dance floor, I'm so grateful and thankful that I have the opportunity to dance. What a
Mm,
joy it is. It's a privilege to be able to just come onto the dance floor and to be able to think about what is the music telling me? How if it's a relationship between me and my partner, but me and the music and my partner, it's one of the reasons why I love Lindy Hop so much is that it's like the most tangible, visceral feeling of joy that I
mm,
can experience in my body, and it just feels really good that in
mm,
that sweet spot in that flow when everything just clicks. I'm just so delighted by the song that is playing. I'm excited about like the instruments that I hear and the rhythm that like really grounds me, and I just
mm,
really want to move through it in the most authentic way that I can, and it's fun. And one of my favorite things is I love to look at my partner because I love to have this conversation without words the whole time.
yeah.
But
Mm,
I love being mischievous, and I love being like silly, and I love laughing, and I love making my partner laugh, and I like doing things unexpectedly. Like I'll stop and I'll wiggle my knees, and it'll take them by surprise, and I start giggling and they start giggling, and we just have a great time. And I feel like I can show different sides of myself, that I can be
Mm,
sassy, I can be sultry, I can be goofy, I can be bouncy, I can be light, I can be bright, I can be effervescent, I can be elegant, I can be smooth, depending on what I
mhm,
want. And it's very, very fun that in every dance, it's a new chance to show a different side of my personality, or maybe I'll decide to show it in one particular way. But thank you so much for saying that my voice is powerful. I think it's that really, really resonates with me, because it's been a while for me to find my voice and to feel confident with the idea of, this is me and this is the way that I dance and this is how my dance shows up on the dance floor. And so it's been this really wonderful experience. So thank you.
oh yeah, of course. And I want to touch more on that piece about finding your voice because I think you and I are very similar in how we approach dance and how we essentially just live our lives. And for anyone who knows me, Steph is probably the one other person who I know who is probably more extroverted than me and who will take literally a half hour to leave a space because she's saying goodbye to everyone, right?
My my friends have learned that they have to be on Stephanie time, or a Stephanie goodbye is that you tell me 30 minutes ahead of time that we're about to leave a space, and it takes me about 30 minutes to say goodbye to my friends, which sometimes is the entire room, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's just certain people. And as I say goodbye, we'll get just lost in a conversation because there's a couple final things that I want to say or they want to say, or a hug, okay, wait, a second hug, okay, a third hug. And yeah, I didn't realize this, but I do need a lot of time. I remember the first time I ever learned about the Stephanie goodbye time, I was told, and I said, okay. I went around the whole entire space, and I remember meeting up with my friend, and I said, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I know that took a lot longer. And
Of course, of course. It is part of who you are and it's part of your voice, I feel like, is being that joyful with other people. So I'm curious, for some of our listeners might be listening and they might be thinking, how do I find my voice? What is my voice? How did you find out your voice and how did you get to this point to where you wanted to say what you wanted to say in a dance?
yeah, this is a wonderful, wonderful question. I had to start with inspiration. So I think
Mm,
about in the very early days of my dancing, and I still do this now, but there were so many different clips. I watched so many clips on YouTube of just who was I inspired by, who did I want to dance like. And I had an experience where I was helping coach a team called Pearl Street Jive, and the
mm,
other individuals who were my fellow coaches, when we were creating lessons for our team, we picked different pro dancers at the time that we thought fit either their body type or the way that they danced and the way that they moved. And I I remember that I was given, I I'm trying to think of who it was. I don't know if it was Gabby Cook. I don't know, it was Avita. Like, I can't remember, but it was a particular person. And I remember
mm,
watching, I think it was another dancer that I can't remember, but I remember watching many, many clips to see what fit my body. And I realized more and more, and with other guidance and different lessons, like Laura Keat, my dear friend and incredible
mm,
dancer, Laura Keat, she would she would inspire during the lessons that I was a part of, to find what movement felt good in my body. So there are all
mm.
these different jazz steps. There's all these different ways that you could move through the music, but what feels good in my body? Because I can try and emulate what another person looks like, but at the end of the day, do I want to be another person or do I want to be me? And I
Yeah.
realized that I really want to show what my unique voice is in the dance. And so a lot of it, a lot of it came to, I tried solo jazz. I did a lot of solo jazz. I would just put on music, and I didn't feel very confident in my solo jazz abilities, but I would just try different things, different aspects. What did I like? What kind of shape felt good on my body? And then I just realized dance is supposed to be fun. It sounds really
Mm,
simple when you say it like that, but I'm here because how the music inspires me and I love the connection that I have. And so then instead of putting so much pressure on myself of I need to make sure that I look a certain way, there might be some techniques or mechanics that can help me reach that point. But I started to just breathe a little bit deeper and not take it so seriously, where I just started to think about what does Stephanie want? What does Stephanie sound like? And I
Hmm.
started to think about what is my personality in general, and I found that it's very authentic for me to be playful. That's the Stephanie version, but to be playful and to be joyful and to be silly. And I started to think about what does that look like? What does that sound like? What could that feel like? And so through different dances and through different connections with people, I was able to find pockets of, oh, different people that I dance with want to hear my voice. So it goes
Hmm.
back to the story with you and the reason why my experience with you at Camp Hollywood and Uptown Swing, it was so powerful was I hadn't been given a lot of opportunity like that to hear my voice or to have somebody say, I want to hear what you have to say in this conversation. And so I started to
Hmm.
lean into that more and just try things. And once I started to
Hmm.
find things that felt good, I just kept following that bliss because it just felt fun. It was playful and it was bright and it was lovely. And then I started to realize that I don't need to dance like anybody else. I just need to dance like me. And if it's the
Hmm.
journey of how I get there, then part of the fun is figuring out what feels like me now and what feels like me in the future, what were parts of me that were me then, and trying to see if I can mix and match them the different seasons and what feels right. Yeah, so it's been years and years, trials and errors and inspiration and mentorship from other people informally, but and a lot of it is just practice on my own and just believing that if I want to try and find it and taking the time and being really kind to myself, taking time that I'll get there. So
I love that aspect that you brought up of like movement that feels good in your body, because there are Lindy Hoppers that you see that are kind of carbon copies of each other, right? So they all kind of look the same, they all do the same moves and stuff. And I think that's what really drew me to your dancing and why it felt so natural is because we weren't trying to look like anyone else. We were trying to move our own bodies and are in the way that made the most sense to us, which is why I think, yeah, we can go there, which is why I think we I was very proud of how we did at Lindy on the Rocks when we first competed together.
that was one of the best competing experiences I've ever had. I and to briefly go back to your point, talking about the carbon copies, I think what's tricky is in the beginning of my dance career, my dance journey, there were certain fundamentals that I needed to learn to understand
Hmm.
certain
Hmm.
ways to do that. But then the more that I continued on this journey, I started to realize, wait, there's not a right way to dance Lindy Hop. There's
Mm.
not like a particular way that the way that I dance is enough. My movement is enough. My dancing is enough. The way that I show up in the space is enough. And what I loved about dancing with you, and especially in our competing experience, I remember feeling nervous. I remember feeling nervous about, okay, I have the opportunity. You and I had a great time in the prelims because we were just
Hmm.
having a blast. We just said we're just going to dance. And I remember in the finals, as we were getting ready, we are having a conversation. You just said, we're just going to dance. We're just going to dance. It's like we're social dancing. It's just you and me. We're just having a good time. And I had to remember that I don't need to look a certain way. There are many,
Mm.
many competitions that I have watched, and there is crisp and clean movement. There is certain patterns of dancing that looks amazing. And there were times where I thought, okay, well, if I make it to the finals, I have to look like that. And I think it was the recognition of, but wait, who told me that? Why?
Mm.
What? Who says who? Like by whose standards? Because if the idea about Lindy Hop is that it is a social dance where you're inspired by other people and the music inspires you and it's the authentic movement in many ways. I mean, being a Black American, African American art form. It's an art form. It's how it moves through your body. And so being able to connect with you at that time at Lindy on the Rocks, it just felt like you and I were able to have the opportunity to show our values, which are very
Mm.
much aligned in
Hmm.
the joy and the community engagement and the
Hmm.
energy and the fun. That was the best that I've ever felt in a competition because I just had a wonderful opportunity to show my joy with you.
Yes, 100%. I think what happened at the prelims is, or we had talked about how to approach competition, and I brought up the thing that Amy and I do, which is it would be nice. Like it would be nice if we made finals. It would, but it really is just I'd rather be proud of how we dance, you know?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when judges give you a rating, a score, award, it's wonderful, but also in
Hmm.
some ways it's arbitrary. It just
Hmm.
depends on the day, the time, the judges, where they look, what do they see. There's
Hmm.
so many different factors that come into that of getting a score and getting a rating. And what matters, I think, at least in my values, is can I walk away from the dance floor? Can I walk away from that experience and go, I had a good dance. I'm really proud. I showed up in an authentic way. I showed up in a way that felt really genuine. And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to dance. I'm really grateful that I was able to have the opportunity to dance today because that's all that matters. We're just here to
Hmm.
dance. We're here and like the events are great, but it brings the community together because we're just all engaging and participating in the joy of dancing. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
100. Yes, and like that to me, like it re-emphasized how you and I work well together because that's what we value. And we'll talk about the community piece here in a bit. And I remember when we were out for dinner, someone brought up the finals and we were on it. And you, oh man, I'll never forget this because you started like crying and you were like so happy. And I was so happy that you were so happy. And you and Allison hugged, and I got a video of it. And it was just a beautiful moment, you know?
Yeah, I vividly remember that we were sitting at dinner, we were getting ready to get ourselves some fuel to dance for hours and hours and hours until the late morning. And when somebody brought up the finals, I believe it was Allison that told me. But if it wasn't Allison, I remember locking eyes with Allison, and my eyes just burst into tears, and I was so
Mm,
happy. And what was really meaningful was that I remember Allison got out of their chair, ran over to me, and just gives me the biggest hug, and I'm jumping and I'm crying, and I see you from across the way, and you just have this very serene smile on your face. And we were with many, many people, two tables worth of wonderful dancers, and they were
mm,
really happy. And for me, that was my first time making finals. It was my first time making finals in a national event. And it was
mm,
really exciting that the way that I got there, the way that we got there was we're just going to dance. We're just going to have fun and we're going to dance and we're going to have a good time. And it was really validating to go, oh, I I have great movement. Like my movement is enough. My dancing is enough. Showing up and having a good time and with great connection and great partnership. Yeah, it was very validating. It was very validating in that moment. It was very exciting. Yeah, I it was such a big joy moment, and it was really really meaningful as the first time,
mm.
and I think it'll always be memorable for as long as
Yeah.
my dance career goes.
Yes, I vividly remember that moment as like our dancing and how we approach dancing and competing works. I thought for a long time that you had to look a certain way, you had to dress a certain way, you had to be to put it bluntly, you had to be tall, white, and skinny in order to
Absolutely.
make finals.
In
And
vintage clothing too. Don't forget, you have to
yeah,
be in particular vintage clothing. At least that's how I felt.
that was just that comp was just really, really it sticks out to me because at that point that's when I was starting to compete. And competing with you was so easy because I didn't feel I didn't feel like stressed. I didn't feel like nervous. There wasn't you didn't maybe you hit it, but you didn't give me this air of oh I'm worried. Instead, I felt an air of like let's fucking do this. Like that's what I felt, and that's something that I always appreciate about you and the people I compete with is that ah that grit and being willing to say we're just gonna do our thing, you know?
Yeah. Like I said, you and I just get the opportunity to share in this experience together. How lucky are we?
So I think this is a perfect segue to talking about why Stephanie Quon dances. So, the question was, why do you dance, Stephanie Kwan?
Why do I dance? I mentioned it before, and I'll still stand by the statement. I dance because it is the most visceral, physical, tangible feeling of joy.
Mm,
It is an experience that just deeply aligns with my values. And when I engage with it time and time again, I just feel very fulfilled. It's just joyful. I love being able to have the opportunity to connect with another person. I love, I love, I love how I just love how jazz makes me feel. It just inspires me to do so many things. When the song is just right, when the music is just right, I can't sit still. I want to express it. I want to groove. I just want to move. I just want to dance. And I really love the experience. And I'm grateful that I have weekly dances in Denver and also in Boulder that I get to see so many people in the community, so many of my friends, and we can just share these experiences. Like I said, it's a conversation without words that
hmm
can show my artistic, creative side, and so can they. And how do you hear music? How do I hear music? How do I feel today? And in some ways, it's just truly a cathartic release. There are
mm,
times where I'm having seasons of my life where all I want to do is just show my joy through dancing. And there are other times when life does becomes stressful and it becomes hard. And there are times where I just want to dance. I'm not able to communicate what I feel, but I can communicate through dancing. I want to be in a space with people who I know and I care and I connect with. I want to see new people come to the scene. I love seeing people that have been there, that have set the foundation. The idea of the multi generational, like dancers with all these different groups of people from all these different walks of life, it brings so many
mm,
individuals together for this collective experience. It's Yeah, it's magical. It's this really incredible thing. But for me, I think about the reason why I dance is that I'm just able to show my voice and show my personality, show my joy, and just really show it's this indescribable
mm,
thing. Like I took my hands and fists, right, and I just kind of threw it out into the world. But
yeah.
it's a very beautifully human experience to dance and to dance Lindy Hop. It's the call and response. It's the community. It is being inspired and trying to figure out how you can add to the conversation. It's the yes and there's just so much that it gives me, and when I give back, I'm always pleasantly surprised and
Mm, yeah,
thankful.
oh yes, that is such a powerful statement. The giving back piece, I think you do so naturally because I think at this point we can jump into your journey because not only did you learn and you are actively a part of the community because you teach, you perform, you DJ, right? How did that journey come from you and how is that connected to your why?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. If I think about the first chapters of my dance journey at college, at university, that is a time of I have found a group of people that I really connect with and I want to know. It was a social aspect. I mentioned before that my lovely and dear friend Allison took me to Lindy on the Rocks, and after I
Mm,
wanted to find more ways to actively engage with the community, so I started by joining a performance team. At the time, CU Boulder, they had a performance team, and it's now called the CU ZQs. If you know the jazz move, the Suzy Qs, we mixed it with CU, and it's really
nice.
clever. And that was a group of individuals who wanted to learn the different line dances. So the Big Apple, the Shim Sham, the California routine, they are very well known dances throughout the Lindy Hop community at large. It was also a time where the people that I was meeting, we all wanted to really work on our technique. And so part of it
Mm,
was, okay, taking lessons outside of the weekly lessons. Then it was teaching those lessons, being a teacher myself, not just being a participant, but being a teacher. Then it
mhm,
was um, having the opportunity to be the co-president of the CU Swing Dance Club. And
Mhm.
then I found more opportunities in Denver. Oh my gosh, there was the Denver Swing Project. I was part of Pearl Street Jive. I was part of Community Minded Dance and all these different experiences. It was a way to learn routines and technique and connection and aerials. It was an opportunity to travel to different states to perform and compete. It was really looking at all these different ways that I could engage with Lindy Hop. And at the time, I called it swing dancing because around, I'll say 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was trying to figure out a way to engage with my community that I love, but I wasn't able to be there in person. And I think about
Mhm.
Boulder Swing Dance, and they hosted radio hours. It was an opportunity to still keep a connection, even though we were in our own homes. And I remember I had my first opportunity to DJ at that Boulder Swing radio hour. Allison, right, said,
Mhm.
I think you should DJ. I think you should try it. And I said, I don't, but I don't know how to DJ. And I remember Allison saying, you don't know until you try. You don't know until you have the opportunity. And
Mhm.
so I had the opportunity. I spent hours trying to figure out the music and how they were going to connect and what to do.
Mhm.
I had some radio hours there. I had an opportunity at the Mercury Cafe, which is a local dance scene here in Denver. If any listeners out there haven't visited Denver, I highly recommend that you check it out. It's wonderful. But I had the opportunity to DJ there, and I had some really good people in my community that were very encouraging and that I could learn from. I think about different opportunities that I had to teach at Boulder Swing Dance. Kenny Nelson, Swing in Denver. I had the opportunity to teach
Mhm.
there. There were opportunities and gigs over the summer. This wonderful place called Little Man Ice Cream, uh, of Swinging Under the Stars. There are so many opportunities where the more exposure and experience I got, the more that it was a teaching experience. And it was hard. It was
Mm.
hard. I mean, there were times where I remember that I would sit during my year of shadowing for Boulder Swing Dance, that I sat on a couch and I watched teachers and I wrote pages and pages of notes of, they started with introductions, then they did a warm up. This is what they did for the warm up. Then and I wrote it out, every single move that they made, every single word that they spoke, I wrote it down. And then it became practicing, and it was trial and error, and it was being open to feedback and knowing that it wasn't personal. It's because these individuals, as my mentors or as my teaching partners or the people who were kind of overseeing, cared about me. And then it was of a matter of slowly just gaining confidence in myself, because if these individuals believed in me, why didn't I believe in myself? And
Mhm.
so I had the opportunity of, the more that I got comfortable, the more connections that I made, uh, the more that my voice came out. And so I was able to think really critically. I mentioned before that I called it swing dancing. I call it Lindy Hop. I was really grateful that Alison Fry and Kenny Nelson, they were two individuals who really helped me understand that I I'm a guest in this dance. I will always
Mhm.
be a guest in this dance, and this dance never started with me. It won't end with
Mhm.
me, but I have the opportunity to move it forward. And there's a great responsibility that I take with a lot of pride of, with the individuals that I come across, whether it's teaching a class out in the community, weekly lessons, monthly curriculum, private lessons, that I can include that in everything that I do. And so I started reading books, started watching videos, YouTube clips, everything, and just asking a lot of questions. And so, gosh, from 2015 to now in 2023, how many years has that been? It's, uh,
Oh,
can I
we're
do math?
it's, 9,
Is it
8,
8 years, I think?
8, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 8 years, close to a decade. It's been a really it's been a really wonderful journey. There's been ups and downs, and I've learned a lot. But yeah, so now I can confidently say that I dance, I perform, I compete, teach, I DJ, and I'm a proactive member in the community, and I'm really proud to say that. I think if I had told college Stephanie where I'd be now, I don't think that she would have believed it. I think
Mm.
that when she first started out, she was just excited to find a group of people where she felt like she belonged. And now I have this opportunity where I can notice who's sitting on the sidelines and who's up against the walls and who's who's clicking with people and who's not. And I have that opportunity to make connections and to create that sense of belonging in the small and big ways that I can.
Oh, definitely. And to double click real quick on the being a guest in this space, I love that you mentioned that. For any listeners, the podcast that I did with Dimitri and Taylor, they also touched on that. So highly recommend you listen to that. I do want to shift to talking about the community though,
Absolutely.
because you are very intentional and you do your best to make sure that you are encouraging new members in the scene and that creates a sense of community, encouragement, and empowerment. I'm curious, like, what are the ways that you and the Denver scene try to make that welcoming for most scenes? Because I think that's something that a lot of people are interested in.
Yeah, I think about in the Denver scene specifically, I'm very mindful about who is sitting down, sitting back, and thinking about are they taking space for themselves because they need that for them, or are they
Mm-hmm.
taking space because they're not sure if they can engage with the other members?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is like this for every scene, but I will say as a general statement that there tends to be unspoken social hierarchies in dance scenes. There are
Mm-hmm.
beginners, there are students that have just come in for their first time. There are individuals who have come and taken many, many lessons and they're starting to kind of get their footing, but they're not sure. There are people who have a couple of friends that they come with, but if they don't come with their friends, then they don't want to come at all. And there are people who come time and time again and they might sit at the back. Maybe you call them wallflowers. It just depends. And so I try to be very mindful about who is dancing and who is not, and why. And I recognize that I can't dance with everybody, but I do know that if I am very intentional about having a conversation with one person or asking someone to dance, it can make a really big impact. I remember the days where I was afraid to ask elite members, and I say that with air quotes because it's
Mm-hmm.
all in the perspective, but I remember
Mm-hmm.
asking dancers who were more experienced than I was and being too afraid, but they came up to me and I remember this feeling of thanking them. I remember I had this one very clear memory that I had a friend who I considered to be such an incredible dancer, and he still is, but he asked me to dance and he goes, "Thank you for the dance." And I said, "No, thank you. Thank you for the dance." And I remember thinking about that going, they're just a person. They're just a
Yeah.
person. They're just a person who wants to ask to dance. Um, I think one of the most memorable moments that I've ever had that has translated to my engagement with the Denver community is at Boulder Swing Dance. I was teaching lessons, and there was a Saturday dance that we had, and there was one particular individual. I remember that person sat on the couch the whole dance. I don't remember seeing that person dance at all. Teaching lessons, we had an hour to social dance to play and practice a little
Mm-hmm.
Lindy lab, if you will, to try out what you learned. And I
Yeah.
went up to that person and I said, "Hey, I saw at the Saturday dance that you were sitting on the couch and that you weren't dancing. I'd really like to dance with you. Would you like to dance?" And I didn't learn until many, many months later when this person and I were friends that that was really meaningful to them. That they didn't know that anybody noticed them. They didn't know that anybody saw them not participating, and that it was really, really impactful. And um, yeah, and it meant a lot. And so now I take that experience of going, I don't know what people are feeling. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how meaningful or impactful, but I try and carry that. So I'm very mindful about just this past dance that I went to in Denver. I was mindful about, okay, who are the people that I want to dance with? Is there somebody that I've never danced with before? Can I find a way to connect with them and share that experience? And maybe I'll see them again, maybe I won't. There was a person who asked me to dance and I wasn't able to. And I made sure to go up to them before they put on their shoes and left to say, "Thank you so much for asking me to dance. I recognize that we didn't have that opportunity. I'll be here next week. Will you be here next week? If so, I'd really like to be very intentional about having us dance." And he said that he would. And I think he was quite surprised that I made sure to seek him out and to
Mm-hmm.
really have that conversation. But that's how you build community. That's
Mm.
that's how that's how in big and small ways you show that everybody deserves to be here and to dance and that they're not forgotten. And that little things like that, little conversations could go a long way. Somebody did that for me. I want to pay it forward.
Oh, that is so. I keep using the word powerful because it is. Like, how many people, there are so many people in our dance scene who probably just, who would be such a core member of the scene if they had been reached out like that, if someone had done that for them. And I think that it's so great that you intentionally do that. And I use the term intentionally do it because you're doing it with heart. You're doing it with intention. You're not doing it because you have to, but you're doing it because you have a heart for the community. You love the community. So that's what you want to bring forward.
Yeah, and I recognize that I'm not perfect. There are dances, there are events, there are scenes, there are times where maybe I'm not able to do it to the extent that I want to. But I think part
Hmm.
of it is having the grace and awareness of saying, just trying, just try, just to be mindful, just to be aware. And like I said, if I'm not able to dance with everybody, to be really intentional. I've had some people, even the night after a dance, they'll send me a message and say, "Hey, I didn't get to catch you for a dance. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next time." I've done this before where after a dance, I'll even thank people like for the opportunity or that I missed them, or even just the acknowledgement of, "Hey, I saw that you were at the dance. I didn't get to say hi, but it was really good to see you." People have sent
Hmm.
me messages like that, and it feels really, really good. And if we go back to the
Hmm.
golden rule, if you got to treat people the way you want to be treated, it's really, really meaningful. And if we're not intentional, then how do we build these strong connections that we talk about that are so, so foundational, so essential to building the community? I just do
Oh,
it in my Stephanie way, or at least I try to.
and you're very Stephanie way. Definitely for sure. Okay. Um, there was something. Oh yeah, there's something I wanted to mention. So, Brittany Calloway and Desiree Roffers, they're two dancers that put up a post on Facebook that mentioned, as a reminder, things are kind of coming back to normal. Look around the room and see which people aren't dancing. And I think that like encompasses what you do. Like you are intentional about it. And that's something I've always appreciated about you. I will also say that another Facebook post I saw was from a friend of mine named Sam Chan. He's an invitational level dancer. Like he is amazing. He's teaching in Korea right now. So yeah, he mentioned he's been dancing for a really long time, but he's still very shy. So sometimes he can't ask some people to dance. And I feel like some people, when we're talking about elites, they think that, oh, they just want to dance with their friends. Swing dancers are a bunch of awkward people. And so some of us tend to be shy. Not everyone can be like a Stephanie or an Andre or a Nick or a Demetrio, like some people are awkward. And so I wanted to put that out there for anyone listening that's like, oh, I'm scared to dance with so and so. Chances are they're probably shy, or maybe they're just there hanging out with their friends. The worst they can say is no, and we can take that in stride. I will say that if you ever meet Stephanie or I, please ask us to dance. We'd love to dance
Please,
with you.
please ask us to dance. And I will say to your point, that's something that I have learned. It sounds so incredibly simple, but we are humans going into a human experience. When we are at dance events, there are so many emotions and so many complex things that may or may not be going on. There are
Hmm.
aspects of the human experience like social anxiety or being
Hmm.
shy, or that some people in dance experiences might just want to be with their anchor people. When I say anchor
Hmm.
people, I mean an individual or a group of people that can help ground them, so they can have the confidence to go out into the community, ask some people to dance or not. And I also like to think that if somebody says no, it's not always personal. It may not be about them. It could be that a person just needs some time to sit and take a breath. It might be that somebody just wants to sit and look at the dance floor. It might just be that somebody just wants to be or have a conversation. And I think about that a lot. And it doesn't matter where you are in the dance. You could be just starting out, or you could be a national professional dancer that has traveled all around the world. That there are many, many different reasons. And to your point, that if anybody out there is nervous about asking someone to dance, I really encourage, if you feel comfortable, a gentle invitation that is kind and encouraging,
Hmm.
to go out and ask. Because I've had experiences where I think, oh, I can't ask that person. I can't ask the person to dance. They are first name, last name. They're not just a
Hmm.
name. They are first name that like they won't even look at me. It's very interesting. I put individuals up on a pedestal and I think, oh, I can't.
Hmm.
And then I think, wait, they're just a person. And I remember having an experience where I worked up my own courage to ask somebody to dance. And they said, absolutely, I'd love to. I have to finish this dance, but I'll find you later. And we never danced. We never danced for that whole weekend. But I was so proud of myself that I went, but I tried. And trying is
Yes,
just part of it. But to your point, if anybody ever meets either of us, they see both of us, please, please, please ask us to dance. I love making new connections with old friends and strangers who will become new friends soon.
yes, 150%. Do you wanna know my trick on how I humanize the pros?
Please tell me your secret. Tell me your secret.
So this might help some of the people that listen to be like, oh, I can't ask so and so because I I was like that as well. I still get that way, but I found this trick that I worked with my therapist on. The first thing is all of them go to the bathroom the same way we do. So they're not like, they don't ship bricks or anything or golden bricks or anything like that. They're normal, just like us. The second thing I think of is you are a professional dancer and I respect you so much. At the same time, can you configure a network switch or can you configure a router or can you do this technical computer thing that I can do? Or can you schedule academic courses for different students and whatnot? And so it's like, it's not like a pointed negative thing. It's more like we're just two different people that have two different skills, but we have this thing in common. So let's give it a shot. That's how I humanize it and make it more simple, you know?
Yeah, I also think something that is helpful for me is with the more classes that I have taken, with the more people that I have met, it's the reminder that individuals who are pro dancers, individuals who are teachers at different events, at different scenes, they are dancers too. They are people too. They started out in the
Hmm.
same way that I did. Our
Hmm.
journeys might be different, but every person knows what it's like to have that feeling of I'm gonna ask that person to dance and
Yeah.
we're gonna do it. And I think that there's some compassion to hold of we all started out in the same way. We all just want to enjoy and connect in this experience. And yes, there might be different ways that we speak this different language, but at the end of the day, we're all going towards the same.
Have you ever thought about being a public speaker? I know we talked about this, but
Maybe one day I will be. And it will have all
um,
started here on this podcast.
well, there you go. There you go. All right. So the final questions is if people were trying to find more information about dancing in Boulder or Denver or information about you, where would they find that?
Yeah, let's talk about all the wonderful, wonderful places that you can dance in Colorado. There are too many for me to name. So I'll just name a couple that were said time and time again. Boulder Swing Dance in Boulder, Colorado, specifically at the Avalon Ballroom. If you have questions or you're curious about the dances that are held, please visit Boulder Swing Dance on Facebook and on Instagram. It's a lovely community of wonderful people, and the individuals that keep it running are marvelous. They're doing a really, really great job. If you are curious about events in Denver on Sundays and Tuesday evenings, there is the Mercury Cafe, Swing Nights Denver. You can find more information also on Facebook, but I also recommend on Instagram. They have a very active and wonderful presence there, and you can find them by looking for Denver Swing Nights. There is also the the Denver Turnverein Cultural Center on Friday evenings. They have Lindy Hop, and also there is the Rhythm Lounge run by Laura Keat. The Rhythm Lounge is very extra exciting because it is a sweet little place where you can learn Balboa and Shag. So you can find the Denver Turnverein on Facebook. You can also look up Denver Turnverein, and specifically for the Rhythm Lounge, you can find it on Facebook and Instagram as well. If you'd like to find me in the social media, if you're interested in connecting, you can find me on Facebook. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Okay. This is the last question I like to ask all of my guests, and that is, You left a really good message already, but I'm curious.
And to know that the community is really grateful that you're here. That's all. That's all that I got. Don't forget to have fun. It's just dancing. It's just dancing.
Don't forget to have fun. It's just dancing. That's a beautiful way to end that podcast. So, thank you, Steph, so much for coming on. I will leave all of the details and the links to everything she had mentioned in the description down below. If you are listening to us on Spotify, don't forget to follow us and rate us, as well as subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on Instagram. We appreciate you lending us our ears. Steph, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, an honor. Thank you.
Stay on for a quick second after I stop recording, that way we can chat. But everyone else, I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for lending us your ears on the SoCal Summer Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, Spotify, and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're looking forward to putting out some great episodes for you, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.